Good afternoon, FDIC 2021. We're here in the IDEX Fire and Safety booth. Do you want to gather around? For those of you who are here in person, if you're online, hello and welcome. We're here on the jump seat today, and today, this session, we're going to be talking about overcoming barriers associated with Fireground operations for women in fire. So we have a special group of ladies here today. We're going to talk about a few things, and then I'll have them introduce yourselves. So we're going to talk about barriers that they're traditionally faced on the Fireground. We'll talk about emerging trends. We'll be talking about differences in expectations for equipment and apparel. We'll be talking a little bit about water flow operations and some tips and tricks that they can share with us, as well as recruiting and retention, so some unique challenges that they face. So we'll go ahead and start at the end of the line first and introduce each of you to our audience, and thank you all for joining us.
Hello, my name is Jessica Coulter. I joined the fire service in 2004 as a junior. I'm one of our interior firefighters. I do water rescue, and I'm also board certified in vehicle extrication, and I'm very excited to be here.
Hi, my name is Yulonda Hayes. I have been on with the fire service for 3 years now. I'm a firefighter with the Minneapolis Fire Department and also an administrative assistant with Women in Fire.
Good afternoon. My name is Latasha Clemens. I've been in the fire service for over 26 years. Newly appointed fire chief, City of Forest Park, Georgia. So I deal mostly with administration. You know how that goes.
Hello, my name is Amy Hanifan. I'm an operations chief out in Oregon, and I'm also the president with Women in Fire. Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure. Thank you. All right, so let's get started and talk about trends in the fire service for women. So tell us about some interesting trends that you're seeing as more women are joining the ranks.
Well, I can tell you, I think this is the year of the woman because there are more women that are joining the ranks, specifically throughout the country. I know that there are 8. I'm going to speak on Black women fire chiefs, and I'm one of the 8. So that's a trend. We have more women that are in chief officer roles, as our president, Amy, just says. She's a operations chief. Several women in this organization that are chief officers. So we are, as many of us that are exiting this organization, women represent 4% nationally throughout the country. So as many women that are leaving the organization, a lot of us are joining.
Would someone like to share a little bit about what you think is most exciting about women joining the ranks?
I think one of the most exciting things about women joining the ranks is not only, I feel like it's kind of a melding of the minds. I believe that women, a lot of times, because we're, in my case, sometimes at a physical disadvantage, that we find ways to improve the fire service overall through better equipment, smarter working, better teamwork. Just there's a whole sector of folks out there that have a ton of knowledge that we're bringing in.
Very good points. Thank you for sharing. Would anyone like to share a little bit about some trends that might be a little concerning to you you're seeing?
I think just not really anything new, but just still the resistance that we feel on a day-to-day, but it's feel like it's lessening. More men are being open to issues like that and to talking about them and figuring out how we can be together. But that's just still the biggest concern.
Look at that. I think on a positive note, there are more conversations that are being had. Women in Fire, they're taking the lead on some of those conversations. We host radio shows monthly on different topics such as, mentorship, harassment and all those things. So some of those courageous conversations are not only increasing the knowledge amongst us women, but the men and women, the men that represent the organizations are actually coming on board and being a part of those conversations. So that's weighing more heavily than the negative. So we're doing great.
That's great to hear. Good. All right, let's talk about challenges with equipment design and apparel. So, Amy, can you share a little bit with us about some of the issues that women encounter when it relates to apparel or equipment?
Right. So we do hear quite a few concerns in regard to apparel. We're actually in the midst of a grant research study with FSU right now When with PPE and fit, that is something that we hear about quite a bit. Gloves often don't fit right. Turnout gear often doesn't fit right. If an organization is able to provide custom fit gear or to really take a look at the fit of their PPE for their firefighters, and that's across the board. I mean, any firefighter will tell you it's not necessarily a one size fits all. And we all need to be able to maneuver and to work when we get out on the fire ground. So best fitting gear is definitely a need. As far as apparatus goes, I think sometimes height can play a bit of a part. And there again, that can be for any firefighters. We all have different builds and makeups. And I think height of where placements of either your pump panel or maybe even hose and crosslays can make a difference on capabilities on the fire ground.
Very good points. Do you have any of you would like to share a personal experience that you might have had recently with apparel or equipment that you've either had to find a way work around or you managed to find a solution for? I think Jessica would like to say something.
So, real quick, whenever I joined, many, many years ago, I bought the smallest boots that they made, and my chief wasn't happy because I was a new person and he had to buy me new equipment, and they were a men's size 5, which was 2 sizes too big. So whenever I went to do RIT training, I literally would walk out of my boots and leave them on the fire ground. Totally unsafe. And so recently, I got to work with Globe. They did a fantastic job on making a women's specific boot, but in my size, the size run it had an issue. They sent it back, they fixed the whole size run, and they were phenomenal about it. And so they really are getting better and more inclusive in their sizing.
Tell me about what you're wearing today.
This is an H&M suit that I bought for $12. And then I made, because whenever I went to have my Class A's made, they didn't make the suiting in my size. And it's astronomically expensive. And so there was my chief gave me free range of creative, and it matches the rest of ours. I've done a number of funerals. Nobody's ever called me out on it. But yeah, it was definitely a special item that they went, I think your sizing's wrong. I said, no, I'm really that size.
Let's talk about what advice would you have for other manufacturers when it comes to equipment, for instance?
Consider grip sizing for for handles and stuff like that for women or people who have smaller hand size, and then weight.
Weight, good points. Yes. Let's see. I know we were talking a little bit about extrication tools, and you have experience.
Hearst.
Yep, Hearst tools.
Yeah, so in my former organization, we definitely started using the Hearst brand. We found that they were lightweight and more transportable. The battery life in them were increasing, which helped us when it was time to provide that task when you're responding to an incident. Definitely, those were some of the points that we thought were good with the Hearst tools. They weren't as heavy, especially when you're talking about size, right? So we thought that the Hearst brand worked for us in our organization.
We use Hearst as well.
Okay, thanks. Yes. Anything else you'd like to add? Advice to manufacturers?
Yeah, I mean, I just would echo on weight a bit. I think obviously back injuries are a big concern. And I think for any firefighter in the fire service, if there's something that's a little less weight, that definitely is a good thing.
Excellent. Thanks for sharing. All right, let's talk about tips and tricks for water flow operations. So I was chatting with a few of you before, and some of you were mentioning some techniques that you found were useful that you had to adapt, maybe traditional training as related to nozzle operation and other kinds of things. So someone like to share about that.
So just learning some, not having so much upper body strength, is learning how to maneuver the line and putting loops in the holes so that to slow down the friction a little bit as you open up the line. Also learning to use your, let the line rest on your hips a little bit, putting it over your shoulder, not trying to grip the nozzle as it looks as a pistol grip, just learning to hold it back a bit as long as you have line to open, your enough room to open and close the line, things like that.
Another thing that I learned was that if you're using a pistol grip, you can use your surfaces to your advantage. If you're near a door frame or a couch or something like that, you can kind of hook it on, and then that'll take your nozzle reaction for you. And then having good backup, training with your people so that way you know where you want them to be.
Good points. Anything else? On that one? Okay, let's move on. All right, let's talk about recruitment and retention. So sometimes, you're talking about there are so many exiting the ranks and joining the ranks. So what are some strategies that you think would be appealing to help with increasing recruiting of women in the fire service?
Right. So I think when it comes to recruitment and retention, truly our communities should, our organization should reflect our community. And so it's important to first evaluate whether or not your organization does that. And then are you marketing in a way that shows your organization to the best? Done some work with some organizations that it took a bit to find, maybe women within their organization on their website or something, along those lines. So ensure that all of your social media and your marketing is really painting the picture for anybody that might be getting involved with your organization, and reflect the community the best that you can. Additionally, if you have local college teams or a relationship with a local high school, there can be a great benefit with like a fire science type program or even youth camps, and just trying to reach out at some of those formidable ages when they are looking at what career path they want to get into.
All excellent points, and you hit a lot of what I was going to say. Most certainly, your community should be reflective of your organizations. The key word, I think, is we need to be intentional about recruitment. We definitely have to look at your organization, see what you have, see what you're lacking, and be intentional about those recruitment efforts. And that comes top down, council down. So.
I think just having transparent and being open about like what's the fire service, like stereotypes that it's not, and I felt intimidated coming in, thinking that I had to have this brute strength, that I would have to lift this man on my shoulder. And I think a lot of men, who are civilians think that that's what the fire service is, and it's not. There's not one department out there that will tell you they'll send one firefighter to go rescue one or some person. There's, rapid intervention teams that are on my department that are at least 3 people. And there's statistics that say if there's a down firefighter, it takes at least 12 to rescue one. So like the stereotype of like, oh, you have to be this, you have to be that. Like, no, I am not going anywhere to rescue anyone by myself. It takes 12 of us. It's not just one. So it's not anything that I'm going to do on my own. Not me, not a man, not anyone. So just like putting that out there so people know like that's not what it is.
Following up on that, our fire department does like a range of services. We're more than just firefighters now. We're also vehicle rescue, technical rescue, water rescue. It goes on. And so we go to elementary schools, and I like to talk to little girls like, do you want to be a firefighter? And just teach them that's a possibility. And then we try to find things that people are interested in, get them in through that. Oh, you like driving the side-by-side? Okay, that's actually a job. And then we can transfer those skills into other things that are either more or less fire related. We always try to talk to our community about additional needs, clerical work. There's a job for everybody.
That's right. Jessica, tell me a little bit about your department size and how many women are in your department.
So our department is roughly 20 members. We have about 14 members that are active, and 6 of those are women, one of which is a junior. She just turned 14, I believe. And we are currently actively recruiting another woman, so we'll have a lucky number 7 on our team. And I think a lot of it stems from our leadership, who's always been open to change. We have all kinds of people, and we have all kinds of strengths in our department. And I think people see that, and they feel welcome. They don't feel as intimidated, and it helps us continue to recruit.
Excellent. All right, one more story, and that's related to the SAM system. So I'm just going to a little plug for SAM. Jessica, how was that play a role in recruiting and your general Fireground efficiency and productivity?
So we've only had our SAM system for a few months, and we absolutely love it. One of the factors in deciding SAM was one of our pump operators was getting older. I was looking at becoming a pump operator, and as it was mentioned earlier, the height of everything was so high. And so we were building this new truck. Everything's lower now. I can pump SAM with my fingers. Our township was kind of asking us about why we needed so much technology. And in 5 minutes, we could have water flowing and they could be pumping it. And we said, look, this really expands. There's tons of women or even people that don't have a lot of physical strength. They could drive a truck safely. Women have less accidents on the road, women with CDLs. And it's a true story. And it just expands this because it's so important to be able to get to the Fireground and get pumping water because, as you said, minutes, tons and tons of damage. And so we can have SAM flowing water so fast. And it's nice. It's wonderful, really.
Any other impressions? I know a few of you just seen Sam for the first time today at the show. Any other impressions about the system you want to comment on?
I was just very impressed with how user-friendly it is. And I think you're right. I think the training would be minimal. And I certainly have had to step up on a step and pull on a valve and put your body weight into it before. So I think it's great. I think it's the wave of the future. And I'm excited to see where we go from here.
I also want to add that I'm usually on the nozzle end rather than the pumping end, is that the way that SAM bleeds the system and there's no fluctuations in pressure, it makes it much easier to handle the hose. And there's much less chance that, your pressures are right. You're not getting picked up off the ground and slammed into something with SAM.
So I can say, I think I can add that as much as the baby boomers are leaving the fire service and the millennials are coming in, the SAM system is the way. It's the way.
Excellent. All right. Well, this about wraps up our session. I just want to say thank you for your service. Thank you for stepping up to the call and to serve your community. And we're happy to be able to support you with equipment that keeps you safe and that helps you protect property and helps you save lives. And so, again, thank you for your time today and really sharing the good news that you have about women in fire and really overcoming those challenges. And we're happy to support you. And thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.